Hey everyone, ready to take your well-being to the next level? Today we're diving into an episode of The Balanced Life.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it really is. And I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of it. It's all about how our physical and mental health are like way more connected than we realize.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like we try to keep them in separate boxes.
Totally. And this episode really gets into how even the simplest things like our sleep or what we eat can mess with our mood.
It's wild, isn't it?
It is. They talk about this whole endorphin thing, like exercise makes us feel good. But what's the science behind it?
Well, think about those runner's high moments.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out some types of exercise, like high-intensity interval training, can trigger a flood of endorphins.
Hmm.
And they actually have a real impact on mood. Like, it's not just in the moment. It's like changing brain chemistry.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's deeper than just endorphins equal happy.
Right.
It's more like our body is actually like rewarding us for pushing ourselves.
Yeah, kind of. But it's not all about intense exercise.
Right.
Even moderate activity can boost those feel-good chemicals.
That's good to know.
And on the flip side, when we're all stressed or anxious, it affects our sleep, our appetite, even our energy levels. It's like a two-way street.
So true. So like if I'm feeling sluggish and just mentally blah, maybe I should hit the gym instead of grabbing another coffee.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Another thing the episode talks about is dehydration.
Oh, yeah.
Even a little bit can throw off our focus and make it harder to think straight.
Uh-huh.
So staying hydrated is like a brain boost.
Okay, well, I'm definitely guilty of not drinking enough water.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget.
So we've got exercise and hydration as key players in this whole mind-body thing. What else did they say about the physical side?
Well, they were big on strength training, not just cardio.
Mm.
A lot of people do cardio for weight loss or their heart, which is great.
Yeah.
But building muscle is super important too.
I've always been more of a cardio person, if I'm being honest. What's so good about strength training?
Well, first of all, you get stronger.
That's always good.
But it also helps your metabolism and can even improve bone density.
Really?
Plus, there's something really empowering about feeling physically strong.
Yeah, I get that. But the gym can be so intimidating. Do you really need to go all out with the weights and machines and stuff?
Not at all. They actually said that consistency is more important than intensity.
Okay, good.
You can start with bodyweight exercises at home, even just using resistance bands.
Well, that's good to know.
It's about finding what works for you and building habits you can actually stick to.
Makes sense. So no need to become a gym rat overnight.
Nope.
What about food? I bet they're all about the kale smoothies and quinoa bowls, huh?
Well, they do talk about whole foods like fruits and veggies, lean proteins, healthy fats.
Right.
But it's not about being super restrictive or following some crazy diet.
Okay, that's a relief.
It's more about knowing how different foods affect your energy and mood.
I know for me, sugary snacks make me crash hard.
Exactly. Those processed foods with all the sugar and bad fats can actually make you more anxious, tired, even moody.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's like they hijack your brain.
So ditching junk food isn't just about fitting into your jeans, it's also about feeling good mentally.
Totally.
Now, sleep. I feel like that's always the first thing to go when things get crazy.
I know, it's so common. But the episode is like, no sleep is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
7 to 9 hours, they say.
Okay.
Because that's when our body and mind repair and recharge. Skimping on sleep is like running your car on fumes. Eventually, you're going to break down.
Ugh. I have totally felt that running on fumes feeling.
Right.
So no more all-nighters, even with deadlines.
Well, sometimes they're unavoidable.
Right.
But being constantly sleep deprived is not doing you any favors. And they also talk about rest and recovery, even when you're not working out. Like stretching, walking in nature, even just taking a few minutes to breathe deeply.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in that go, go, go mentality and forget to slow down. Okay, so we've covered exercise, hydration, food, and sleep. The physical health basics. What about mental well-being? What did they say about that?
They had a ton of strategies. Some of the big ones were mindfulness, journaling, and stress management techniques.
Oh, huh?
Mindfulness is all about being present, noticing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. It can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths or just paying attention to what you're feeling in your body.
I've heard about mindfulness, but I'm still not totally sure what it means.
Yeah, it can be kind of vague,
Yeah.
but basically it's about being aware and not judging yourself. stepping back from all the thoughts in your head and just noticing what's happening.
It's like hitting pause on your inner monologue.
Exactly.
What about journaling? I always want to do it more, but I never have time.
I get it. It can feel like just another thing on your to-do list,
Yeah.
but even 5 minutes a day can be super helpful.
Totally.
It's not about writing a novel.
Right.
It's about having a space to process your emotions, figure out your thinking patterns, and get clear on your goals.
I'm kind of curious about different types of journaling. The episode mentions gratitude journaling.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
What do you think about that?
Gratitude journaling is really powerful. Taking a few minutes each day to focus on what you're grateful for can totally change your mindset.
Hmm.
It helps you see the good in your life, even when things are tough.
Yeah.
It's like a mental reset.
So it's not about ignoring the bad stuff, but about focusing on the good. I like that. What about stress management? Because let's face it, stress is kind of unavoidable.
Totally. But we can learn to handle it better. The episode suggests this thing called the 4-7-8 breathing method.
Hmm.
You breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. It's simple, but it really calms your nervous system down.
I get anxious physically, so anything that helps me breathe better sounds good.
It's great for those moments when you feel overwhelmed. And you can do it anywhere. You don't need anything special. They also talk about breaking down tasks into smaller steps so you don't feel overwhelmed.
Oh, I need to work on that. I get so paralyzed by big projects and end up procrastinating.
We've all been there. By breaking those big goals down into smaller chunks, they don't seem as scary.
Right.
You can just focus on one step at a time, and that makes all the difference.
So we've talked about mindfulness journaling and some stress management stuff. It sounds like they're all about small, consistent actions instead of trying to change everything at once.
Yeah, they're all about building lasting habits, not some impossible ideal.
That makes me feel a lot better. It seems a lot more realistic for busy people.
And remember, if you're struggling, there's always professional help.
Good point. Therapy can be so helpful.
It gives you a safe space to work through your thoughts and feelings, figure out coping mechanisms, and deal with challenges.
So we've got this amazing toolkit for both physical and mental well-being. But the big question is, how do we actually do all this without getting totally overwhelmed?
That's where balance comes in. And that's what we'll talk about after a quick break.
Stay tuned. We're going to get practical and figure out how to create a balanced life using all this awesome info. All right, so we've got the basics down right. We understand that connection between our mind and body, and we've explored some healthy habits. But now the real question is, how do we actually fit all this into our crazy busy lives? It's one thing to know it, but doing it, that's a whole different story.
I know, right? We can have all the info in the world, but if we don't actually use it, it's kind of pointless.
Exactly. And that's why I think this podcast's idea of a health ritual is so smart. Instead of going for some massive overhaul, we just find little ways to work these habits into our daily routine, like almost making them automatic.
Yeah, love that.
Oh,
It takes the pressure off. It's not about these huge changes. It's about finding those little moments in your day. A quick workout, a little meditation, maybe just prepping a healthy snack instead of grabbing junk.
and the cool thing is those small actions can snowball. Like when I start my day with even a short workout, I'm more likely to make healthier choices all day long. It sets the tone.
Totally. You get that momentum, you feel like you're taking care of yourself, and that's super motivating.
They had some really neat ideas for combining habits, too.
Oh, yeah?
Like, why not go for a walk with a friend? You're exercising and being social all at once.
Right. It's about making these things enjoyable, something you actually look forward to, not just another chore.
Because let's be honest, if it feels like a chore, we're not going to stick with it.
So true. Think about what you actually like, what fits your life and what feels doable. Maybe it's listening to a podcast while you run or trying a new recipe with your family. Make it fun, make it social, make it something that adds to your life, not complicates it.
Yeah, it's about finding what works for you, not trying to fit into someone else's mold. We all have different needs, different schedules, different things we enjoy.
And speaking of finding what works, I think we got to acknowledge that there will be days when we just don't hit the mark.
Oh, for sure.
We might skip a workout,
Yeah.
eat some junk food, or forget to meditate. And that's okay.
I was just thinking about that. This is all great, but it feels a little overwhelming. What if I can't keep up with it all?
Well, that's where self-compassion comes in. This podcast really stressed that health isn't about being perfect. It's about making progress and being kind to ourselves. We're all human. We all mess up sometimes. The key is to not beat ourselves up about it.
I love that. It's so easy to fall into that all or nothing thinking. Like if I miss one workout, I might as well give up on the whole week.
Yeah, it's a trap we all fall into. But think about it this way. Would you talk to a friend the way you sometimes talk to yourself? Would you yell at them for a little mistake?
No way.
So why are we so hard on ourselves?
Good point.
It's a common pattern, but we can change it. Instead of freaking out when you slip up, just acknowledge it, learn from it, and move on. Treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show a friend.
So it's not about pretending we didn't mess up, but about being understanding with ourselves. I like that.
And remember, every day is a new chance to make healthy choices. We don't have to be perfect. We just got to keep moving forward.
So it's more about building a healthy lifestyle, not about reaching some perfect ideal.
Exactly. And part of that is celebrating the little wins along the way. Every time you choose a healthy meal, go for a walk or meditate, give yourself some credit, you're showing up for yourself.
It's true. We tend to focus on what we're not doing instead of acknowledging the good stuff.
Yeah, it's easy to downplay those small victories, but they add up over time.
Yeah.
And as you start seeing and feeling the benefits, that keeps you motivated.
So it's a positive feedback loop. The more we take care of ourselves, the better we feel, and the more we want to keep going.
Right. And the more we celebrate those little wins, the more we build those good habits.
This is all making so much sense. But I'm thinking, where does this leave our listeners? What's the big takeaway?
I think the most important thing is to remember that creating a balanced life is a journey. It's about figuring out what works for you, being consistent, and being kind to yourself.
It's not about reaching some impossible standard. It's about finding those things that help you feel good in your body and mind and making them part of your everyday life.
Exactly. And realizing that balance doesn't mean everything is perfect all the time. It's about finding that sweet spot where you feel good, you feel grounded, and you're able to be your best self.
And that sweet spot is going to be different for everyone.
For sure. What works for one person might not work for another. So it's about trying things out, finding what you like, and creating a routine that feels good and that you can stick with.
Yeah.
It's about putting self-care first, not treating it like an afterthought.
Like we're creating our own personal recipe for well-being and trying different ingredients until we find that perfect mix.
I love that. And remember, this isn't a one-time thing. As our lives change, our needs change, and what balance means to us might change too.
So it's not about finding one perfect solution. It's about paying attention to what we need and adjusting our habits.
Exactly. It's about being flexible, adapting, and always learning.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Understanding the mind-body connection, exploring healthy habits, and even talking about how to create a balanced life.
We've given our listeners a good starting point and some practical tools to get going.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I think we should leave them with something to think about. A question to ponder as they start their own journey toward a balanced life.
I like that. Let's ask them to think about what their ideal balanced life looks like, and what one small step they can take today to start making it happen.
Oh, I love that. Because sometimes the hardest part is just starting.
It can feel overwhelming to think about making big changes, but even little things can make a big difference over time.
So to our listeners, we challenge you. What does balance mean to you? And what's one small thing you can do today to get a little closer to that vision? It doesn't have to be anything huge.
It could be going for a 15-minute walk, drinking an extra glass of water, or taking 5 minutes to just breathe.
Whatever it is, make that promise to yourself and start building the balanced life you deserve.
You have the power to create a life that feels good in your body and your mind.
And that's our deep dive into creating a balanced life. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring.
Remember, you have the power to create the life you want. Start small, stay consistent, be kind to yourself, and watch those little steps turn into big, positive changes.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep taking care of the most important person in your life, you. You know that challenge to picture your perfect, balanced life? I think that's such a good place to start.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like figuring out what really matters to you, those values that are important, and what makes you happy and gives you energy.
Like making a roadmap, you know?
Totally.
Once you can see where you want to go, it's easier to make choices that get you there.
And it's interesting because the podcast said if you're always running on empty and not taking care of yourself, you can't really be present in any part of your life.
Right.
Like your relationships, work, or even just your hobbies.
It's that whole can't pour from an empty cup thing.
Exactly.
You can't give what you don't have.
So true.
So taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It actually lets you be your best self for everything else.
And that one small step we challenged our listeners to take. It might seem tiny, but I think that's where the real change happens.
I think so too.
It could be like meditating for 10 minutes every morning, packing a healthy lunch, or even just putting your phone away for 30 minutes and going for a walk.
Those small, consistent things are what build lasting change.
Totally.
It's not about those huge, unsustainable changes.
Right.
It's about weaving those healthy habits into your everyday life until they become like second nature.
And this isn't about reaching some kind of finish line.
Right.
The podcast reminded us that it's a journey, not a race.
Exactly.
There are going to be times when you get off track, maybe even weeks, where it feels like you're going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that happens to everyone.
And it's so important to remember that.
It is.
We all mess up. We all have setbacks.
It's all part of the process.
But it's not about beating ourselves up for those mistakes.
No, not at all.
It's about seeing them, learning from them, and most importantly, getting back on track.
You got it.
It's about progress, not perfection. Giving ourselves permission to be human.
And celebrating those small wins along the way.
Yes.
Every healthy choice you make, no matter how small, is a win. And those wins keep you going.
So even if you don't see big changes right away, trust that those little efforts are making a difference.
They are.
They're building the foundation for a healthier, happier, more balanced you.
And you deserve that.
I do.
You deserve to feel your best in your body and mind.
Well said. Okay, so we've covered a lot. Understanding that mind-body connection, exploring healthy habits, and even figuring out how to create a balanced life.
I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about and some good tools to use.
And that wraps up our deep dive into creating a balanced life. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring.
Remember, you have the power to create the life you want.
So true.
Start small. Stay consistent. Be kind to yourself. And watch those small steps create big positive changes in your life.
Until next time, keep diving deep, keep learning, and keep taking care of yourself.